Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. I do hope that you're all doing well, that you're all having a great day. I will go through the sequence of events for you just so you completely understand the entire story, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. This is an article from the 19th of October 2019. It says 2 actions by US financial authorities this week indicate that the United States will respond to a looming downturn in the global economy by providing, once again, unlimited amounts of cash to financial markets. On Wednesday, the Financial Reserve began an operation lasting at least 6 months to purchase around 60 billion US dollars of treasury bills a month in response to sharp spikes in interest rates in overnight markets. The following day, in a separate action, the New York Federal Reserve injected 104 billion US dollars into financial markets to boost liquidity. Together with the Fed's decision to twice cut interest rates with the prospect of another cut at the end of this month, that was in October, these moves make clear that in conditions characterized by International Monetary Fund as a synchronized global slowdown, any efforts to normalize monetary policies are well and truly over. That was on the 19th of October in 2019. For those of you who don't know or don't remember, the stock market did incredibly well in 2019. A lot of the times, depending on where you, not even where you were getting your news from, if you actually read and understood what was really taking place, the market was slowing down. It was slowing down rapidly. And this is why we started getting a lot of news. I'm sure a lot of you remember that we were in a 10-year bull market. Everything was looking great. Everything was absolutely fantastic. I'm not sure if we were just getting I don't want to say the real news. That sounds too pretentious. I don't know if we were just getting more of the economic policy news because we're in the cryptocurrency space, and a lot of what the cryptocurrency space believes in, relies on, or thinks that when traditional markets falter or when traditional markets simply don't do very well and they continue printing money, that the cryptocurrency space will in some way then actually benefit from it. So multiple times throughout the year, 2019, especially 2018, when we saw that economic policies from traditional markets were not doing very well, and we saw that governments around the world were pushing money into the stock market, we knew relatively, give or take, a lot of it was falsified. You can print fake money, buy up stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and securities, and the prices will go up because you're printing money and you are buying them. So there's less of them around, and therefore that is the demand that is created. So 2019 for the stock market and the rest, I mean, we were hitting crazy, what's the word? Like crazy records. Remember a couple of months ago, everyone was like, not Tezos, Tesla. Everyone's like, Tesla's going to go up to $9 bajillion and first $1 trillion company, and Elon Musk is going to be so rich, and Apple's going to be this, and so on. Remember all these big hype things? It was this, for those of you who I was going to say were around, you should have all been around if you're listening to this. During the 2008, 2009 crisis, do you remember 2004, 5, 6, and the beginning of 2007? What did everyone say about housing prices? The prices would never go down. Why would prices go down? They've been going up for like 4 or 5 years. Like, you should buy something right now because, if you don't, housing prices will continue to skyrocket. I remember hearing all these things on TV. I remember all my friends and family members trying to buy homes and houses and stuff like that at these crazy, astronomical, fluctuating interest rates, because the idea was that the bull market would never end. And this is why I make sure to always tell people, like, it's cool sometimes when the cryptocurrency market is like really pushing up and everyone's like, woo! You have to remember, things will eventually fall. Nothing ever stays up forever. Like, it's just not a thing. So at some point, this market that was propped up, dare I say, by multiple governments around the world would eventually falter. This one is from 3 days ago. It says the Fed's $1.5 trillion injection may just be the beginning. We had information that the Federal Reserve, once again separate, this is completely separate from the news that we had on the 19th of October, about the Federal Reserve pushing billions of dollars into markets to boost liquidity, which means that no one was really trading anything back and forth and things were very, very dry. This is another thing on top of that, the 60 billion treasury bills for at least 6 months. October, November, December, January, February, March. That's just roughly ending around now. We had news a couple of days ago that the Federal Reserve also plans on injecting 1.5, again, trillion with a T into markets just to keep them up. I won't even go into what that 1.5 trillion could actually be used for, but use your imagination. So that's the news that we had 3 days ago. For those of you who were unaware or did not see, did not turn on the TV because maybe it's too depressing, did not get an alert on your phone. This says the Federal Reserve has slashed interest rates to 0 and is going to restart quantitative easing in an emergency Sunday announcement. It is rare in any case when any financial institution, Federal Reserve, banking, government, whatever, decides to have an emergency announcement on Sunday. When was the last time you heard anyone do an emergency announcement on Sunday? They usually wait to around a Tuesday, a Thursday, maybe a Wednesday sometimes. It kind of depends on where you are. The idea that on Sunday, before anything else could happen, and the timeline of it is actually quite significant as well, that they would be slashing interest rates to 0 is insane. The US was one of very few economically major countries who had a positive interest rate, i.e. 1.25, 1 point so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. You know, all their old numbers. When you lower interest rates to 0, it is done in an, say it with me, an emergency effort to really try and get people interested in the stock market once again. Because their indications already show no one's interested. No one's pumping money into the markets because everyone is relatively afraid from whatever factors there might actually be out there. So when you lower interest rates to 0, you are telling people buy. Buy as much as possible, take out as much debt as you possibly can to keep this economy going. The issue is, once again, any efforts done like this may only then still last for maybe 6 months, maybe 3 months, maybe a year if we're really, really lucky. But eventually, at some point, the money does run out. Yep, it says Fed cuts U.S. interest rates. This was, I mean, not even major news. This was probably one of the craziest things in the entire world. And when this news came out of the interest rate cuts, I think I was watching something on Netflix and my phone kept on vibrating. Like, you know, like when you look at your phone and it keeps vibrating and you're like, I'll answer it later. But it kept on buzzing. And my friend had texted me about 15 times telling me that interest rates had dropped to 0. I didn't. Why would they do that? They just cut them. I think the Fed cut rates, what was it, last week? It was 1.25 to I think 1% of interest rates, and they completely slashed the entire thing completely to 0. And I was like, that's not a thing. That's not possible. Immediately after, my friend sent me this text message. I ran to the room, checked Bitcoin's price. Bitcoin had shot up by 10%. I think at least 8 minutes after the Fed had announced that they were going to cut their interest rates to 0. Bitcoin shot up by 10%. I posted on Twitter for those of you who saw it about the actual rate cut. And I was like, guess which coin is pumping? It was Bitcoin first for those of you who didn't get the actual thing. People were like, it's XRP, it's so-and-so. After like about a good 20, 30, 40 minutes, the entire market was pumping. So my tweet was kind of irrelevant. It was more that, hey, as this happened, I think Bitcoin jumped by 6%. The other coins were up around any 0.5%, 1%, maybe 1.5%. As Bitcoin was pushing up around 10%, the rest of the market was like, okay, it's go time. And I sat there, I was like, do I buy now? Do I buy later? I was like, I can't panic because I have a feeling that something else was going to happen. So I'm messaging my friend. My friend is like, yeah, I just bought some before the actual pump happened. He saw that the Fed guy got on stage. He was like, they're apparently ready to like actually buy. Bought some. Price is shooting up, and he goes, yeah, and the stock futures open up in around 40 minutes. And I stopped, and I was like, I have to see exactly what's going to happen because I have a very big indication. Rather, the last 3 weeks have been a pretty strong indicator as to where things could go or how markets are going to react. For those of you not looking at the screen, It says stock futures drop. They hit a limit down. Even as the Fed slashes rates, the Dow futures cut off 1,000 points. When you announce as a reserve, a Federal Reserve, a bank, a whatever, that you are cutting interest rates, it is normally, in other economic situations, a boost to the economy. People figure out that they can take out loans, they can get free money or freer money than they normally would. No one wants to take out a loan at 5%. No one wants to take one out at 7%. 2% is kind of nice. 1% is even better. 0 is great. Having had this news and the futures stock futures market dropping by 1,000 points was a big indicator for me. This is how I feel, that we are not out of the woods yet. For those of you who may have never heard that phrase before, it means things are probably going to get a bit worse over this week and maybe next week and then the week after that, because when you cut interest rates, it's a last ditch effort. It's the last thing you can do to try and get people into the economy. If our interest rates are 7, nobody wants it. Interest rates 5, people are kind of interested. If your interest rates are 1% and nobody wants to buy anything, that's a problem. If you lower your interest rates to 0, imagine you had a fruit stand. You had strawberries, apples, bananas, blueberries, everything else. And your prices said 0. And people picked up your apple, looked at it and went, ugh. That's kind of what it's like. When nobody wants your stuff, even when it's basically free, that is a very big problem. Yeah, Dow futures plunge. So, I mean, at the time of me making this video, we are several hours away. Many hours away. There are no moons. Many moons away from... Why do I keep saying moons? Many hours away from the stock market in the United States from actually opening. A lot of people, I was telling other people this before, and I was sending the message to my other friends who had told me at some point that they may be interested in money and the economy and stuff like that. And I don't think they definitely did not understand the significance of a 0% rate drop. And I kept on telling them that the stock futures had dropped and that we are, the next day, the stock market would open. And they were like, which one? The one in the Bahamas? The one in Tokyo? The one in Asia? And I'm like, what? Whenever you hear me say stock market, I mean the most liquid and the largest stock market in the world. You all get it, right? You all get what I'm saying when I say words. Everyone else gets it. Just to bring the point on home, simply because I want everyone to understand this. It says negative interest rates refer to a scenario in which cash deposits incur a charge for storage at a bank rather than receiving interest income. Instead of receiving money on your deposit that you have inside the bank, depositors, you must regularly pay to keep their money with the bank. So imagine you have your money inside the bank. Let's say you have a rough number, $1 million in the bank. Woo, you're amazing. And the interest rate is 5%. I remember oh my gosh. I remember in 2005, 6, and 7, the interest rates on many banks were actually between 5 and 7%. You were getting a nice little chunk of change if you had a lot of money inside the bank. At the end of the year, you get a little check or it gets deposited into your account. Thank you for having your money with us. Here's 5% on all the money you had. Everyone's like, yeah, free money. Time went on, those interest rates went down to 2%, 1%. So if you had $1 million, you're only getting 1%. Now, when you have a 0% interest rate, you're getting nothing. Nothing. And the idea has always been the inflation rate is typically, banks say they try to hit anywhere from 1 to 2% inflation per year. If you are getting 2% interest rates on your bank account, you are just on par with inflation. This is why investing is very important. For those of you who did not know, the idea is to always stay in front of inflation. So whenever you hear people bragging about, I made 10%, I made 15% on my investment, it's because the inflation rate is 2%. You made 15, you're 13% ahead of inflation. You have made money that will continue lasting you for years and years as inflation continues to ravage the entire world. When the interest rate falls down to 0, you're getting no money. What's happening is that you're paying whatever your monthly bank fee is to your bank. You're paying them around $5 per month just to keep your money with them. What happens during negative interest rates is that you then, on top of the $5 you're already paying per month, you have to pay the bank in order to keep your money with them. Get it? It says with negative interest rates, cash deposited at a bank yields a storage charge rather than the opportunity to earn interest income. Negative interest rates might be seen during deflationary periods when, here's the most important part, people or institutions are inclined to hoard money rather than spend or lend it. The entire idea is, if you make it so that people are getting, and this is the most diabolical part of it, the idea after all of it is, if you have a negative interest rate and you find out, oh, I'm not really making any money on my account, they want you to be incentivized to spend your money. If you know you're not going to make money on your money, you spend it. That's not a joke. This is the actual idea behind the policy. During rough economic times, when people are incentivized or inclined to not spend and not do anything with their money, they say that people hoard it. People keep it rather than spend it. Why would I want to get rid of my money when everything is so bad in the economy? But, I mean, my interest rates are already negative, and I'm losing money anyway, keeping it inside the bank, so I might as well just buy some of the stuff that I want. Isn't that terrible? And this is an actual monetary policy. The negative interest rate is meant to be an incentive for banks to make loans during a period in which they would rather hang on to funds. The idea is for you to spend and for other people to take out loans. That house you always wanted, well, there you go. It's all these, it's just meant to, the entire economy, the entire world runs on debt. It's terrible. The entire idea is for you to take out a credit card, for you to take out a loan, and for you to pay that back for the next 30 years, so that you are always indebted to a bank or an institution, no matter what you do. I know it's terrible. Like, think about that. The fact that the world economy works like this and people don't know makes me sad every single day. And this is why I think I will continue this channel for a very long time until people really get it. So the United States was one of the last strings. That's not the word I'm looking for. One of the last major economic powers that had positive interest rates. They're now zero. For those of you not looking at the screen as well, it says there are a number of examples of countries who have actual negative interest rates. If the economy continues not to do well over the next couple of months, we will see other countries also bringing negative interest rates. The idea is if you keep your money in your account with them, the banks get that money, and this is a way for banks to make money during a time of economic crisis. So instead of them making money from their investments, they make money directly from you and your bank account. It has been noted. Remember when I said, I think it was 2018. So one of the main reasons when I got into cryptocurrencies around 2012, I remember trying to find like gurus out there. Like, you're trying to find who knows the best, who has the best information. And I kept on running into stuff from Andreas Antonopoulos, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't spell his name. I can't stand this guy. Everything Andreas Antonopoulos has said has come true. I don't think he's a wizard. I don't think he's an oracle. I just think he's very intelligent, and maybe he understands economic policies far better than I, especially. I'm sure he's just one of the biggest brains out there. Everything that he has said has come true. As far as even he mentioned that other countries would have negative interest rates before they even had negative interest rates. And he said that the final thing would be the US having zero and then eventually moving into negative interest rates. When people realize that they will be making no money from the money in their account, he said, this is where it gets interesting, people will eventually start looking for alternatives. They will go to this bank and ask, what's your interest rate? 0? Okay. They will go to this bank and ask, what's your interest rate? Mine is 0.7. Okay. What do I do to put my money further? How do I make extra money? And this is when people will realize that there is something out there that's finite, that you can't make more of. That's relatively rare, especially right now. that a lot of other people maybe don't know about, but you've seen over the course of a 10, 15-year period, other people have been making money on. He always said the same exact thing. He said at some point when the negative interest rates hit, and at the end of the year, people are looking at their bank statements and going, I saved $1 million. Why did you take out 15,000 from that? Oh yeah, because we have negative interest rates. People will look for alternatives. And this is the next step from what I can remember after all his talks is 0% interest rates from the US, an eventual negative. He said it won't be deep negative, but negative in general is a very huge indicator of the economy. At that point, it will come the banning of cash, which if you have been watching the news, we are on that route right now as cash is dirty. After that, it will be the commencement and the announcement of central bank digital currencies worldwide. From there, it will be people realizing that the economic policies of these central bank digital currencies are just as garbage as they were for fiat. Many people around the world will have already gotten into Bitcoin, but they will realize as the halvings increase and the price of Bitcoin increases that this is a safer place for them to have their money. People realize the safer place to have their money, and at the end of the year, even during the course of a 3-month period, they tell their friends, I made 6% on my money, more than I would have made in my normal bank account because it's negative. Other friends will start to join in. And eventually in 20 years, we have a world that runs exclusively on digital currencies. So we have a good 20 years to see if the rest of what he said is correct. He's been correct about a good 8 years. I know I've said it before, but if you've never listened to Andreas Antonopoulos speak, I mean, really, just listen to the stuff that he has to say because a lot of it sounds very far-fetched. It doesn't almost sound real. I thought he was a kook and a hack in 2012. He just talks logically. He says like what the next step is going to be. Anyway, that is the sequence of events from the last, couple of months, what have you. But even just from the last 48, 50 hours, we have officially had, or we have the situation where the US now has 0% interest rates. And immediately after, 40 minutes later, stock futures fell. So on top of that, as the reason why I think Bitcoin rose was off of the news of the Fed rate cut, of course. But about an hour later, as the crypto market started sliding, it was because the Dow futures had also started falling. Keep in mind, we are still in, for a while, a very speculative market. And our prices, like other markets around the world, are also being decimated. So it would be juvenile to think that cryptocurrency would not incur the same amount of wrath or pushing down as other markets. But yeah, that's the. I mean, it's really what a time to be alive is all I can say. All of this is actual history in the making. We are at the point where all of this stuff I've been learning for the last years could all potentially come true. Because economic policies are not going to get any better. Interest rates are going to continue falling. Like the idea that people would be okay with putting their money into a bank and giving the bank their money because the bank doesn't have any debt from other people. It's nonsense. So that's where we are. And time will tell where we're going to be. And without further ado, let's move on. In another edition of Why, the U.S. state of Illinois has advanced a bill to consider unclaimed cryptocurrencies at custodians abandoned after 5 years. The coins will then be liquidated and the proceeds returned to the state treasurer. Hope you all got that. The cryptocurrency owners will have no recourse against the custodians or the state. Illinois House Bill 4573 which amends the state's revised Uniform Unclaimed Property Act, was assigned to the state's Revenue and Finance Committee on Thursday. As if to demonstrate the oft-cited Bitcoin maxim, not your keys, not your coins, one of the representatives stated, the bill provides that virtual currency is presumed abandoned if it is unclaimed by the apparent owner 5 years after the last indication of interest in the property. The term virtual currency is defined in the bill as any type of digital unit, including cryptocurrency. A holder means a person obligated to hold for the account of or to deliver or pay to the owner property. I don't care. You all know what an owner is. Why? I don't know if they're trying to get people to not leave their stuff with them. Like imagine I've met a couple of people who told me, even in the comment section, people have told me they bought crypto two, three something years ago, untouched, leaving it there. They're hoping one day in 10, 15 years, they can take out that ledger, hand it to their kids and go, bam, you're rich. Imagine if you went to your ledger and 3 years from now, it's not in your drawer, not under your bed, not in your shoe or wherever people keep their ledgers. It's just gone because someone was allowed to walk into your house and go, he hasn't touched this in 5 years, and then they took it. Why you would put forward something like this, I don't know. I think it's, I dare use the G word, greed. It could be that, now this is I'm putting my tinfoil hat on sideways, so it's not completely on. If the idea or the prospect of cryptocurrencies or digital currencies in 5 years could potentially be outrageous sums, and no one has touched them, especially if you bought them a couple of years ago, but then therefore, the $1 million worth of crypto that you had accumulated, had not touched for 5 years, could simply then just be given back to the government, which would then be free money for them. That's the kind of way I see it. I see no other reason. Imagine if one of the people who put this proposal forward, especially, if they have multiple homes, imagine if they hadn't gone to their home in over a year, their vacation house, because they had gone to the so-and-so one year. And they came back to their home the next year and you're sitting in it and you go, well, you didn't use this last year. I assumed it was abandoned and I went to the court and they gave it to me. It's these situations like this where I wonder what they would do if the shoe was on the other foot, how they would feel. They probably wouldn't feel too nice. Like what would the mandates be? Like, do I have to just simply sign into the crypto exchange once a year? Do I have to move the funds so that you know that it's me using the actual money? What then happens when you move your money? Will you then be tracked? Probably. They want to know exactly where did you put that $75,000 that you had in Bitcoin? Where did it go? You moved it to another account. Can we have that account's name? Okay, cool. Thanks. Okay, well, see you again in 4.5 years. It's very weird. I don't know why. Why? I have no actual answer. Anyway, why? I can't think of other words. Next up, Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao has announced that the company will launch a fiat gateway for South African users, allowing them to make rand deposits. The announcement was made on the day of the Blockchain Africa conference being held in Johannesburg this week. Changpeng Zhao confirmed that South African traders will soon be able to make rand deposits on the platform through the Binance website. This is part of the ongoing push into Africa that started in Uganda in 2018, they said. Africa illustrates one of the largest demands and instrumental use cases for cryptocurrency, notably for financial access. According to the World Bank, approximately 66% of sub-Saharan Africans are listed as unbanked. So instead of trying to bank the unbanked, let's try and Bitcoin the unbitcoined. So it's another country now have under their belt. Say what you say about Binance. At least imagine if the Gemini twins or Coinbase made this much effort to push into other markets. At least we have Binance doing it. Binance has gotten into some of the most interesting markets in the entire world where we have not heard Gemini twins, Poloniex, Coinbase, or BitMEX even whisper in private. So the point is, it seems that Jack Dorsey and Changpeng Zhao are in a crypto race to see who can get Africa crypto-fied the most. Anyway, yeah, this has to at least be like the 30th country this year so far. Like yeah. And to finish things off, on the 16th of March, digital asset marketplace Binance.us will list Tezos, the in-house cryptocurrency blockchain project of Tezos. According to an announcement on Binance's website, trading for Tezos to the US dollar and Tezos to Boost, that is BUSD, trading pairs will be available on Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, that is New York City time. At the time of writing, users on Binance.us can deposit US dollars, BUSD, or Tezos to their wallets before trading goes live on Monday. However, only deposits of the XYZ tokens, I have no idea what that is, will be allowed. Withdrawals are permitted after 9 a.m. on the 16th of March. Tezos is currently valued at $1.47. Cool. Wonderful. I expected this to happen at some point. Binance has it. Coinbase has it. So it's only logical that Binance US will also have this, assumption. This should be available for people within New York State as well, as I don't live there, but I'm fairly certain that Coinbase allows New York users to buy Tezos. I apologize if I'm incorrect. Anyway, it's another place adding Tezos. Tezos is interesting. Tezos is kind of this thing that came out of nowhere that everyone supports. I would like a crystal ball to see into the future. Yeah. Just a public service announcement before we continue on. Once again, I think we are in a very interesting period. It is obvious to me that probably the stock market will dip once again when it opens, as this was not the only interesting news that we had. If you had been paying attention over the last 2 days in the news, a multitude of other things took place, which are probably going to be very big indicators of a further drop in stocks. As such, I believe myself, I am priming for the possibility of a cryptocurrency market drop further. I do think that within the next couple of weeks, we could potentially see a 3,000-ish Bitcoin, and that is only because we hit 3,000 before. It's logical that that is probably a bottom for the price. It may bounce off of it. It may fall lower. The magic is nobody knows. If you are or have been looking for a potentially cheaper Bitcoin, you are probably going to get your wish over the next couple of weeks. Just remain prepared. Do what you need to do. If a recovery does happen, then it happens. If it does not, be prepared. I mentioned before, if you are into cryptocurrencies, this is why I mentioned it in about 1,000 other videos, is because I need to drill it into people's heads that there will be moments like this. No one can predict the future, and we are going to be in the situation often where prices drop, and they drop a lot, and people are going to lose a lot of money, and people are going to start panicking. Do not put money into this market if you are going to panic. Do not put your kids' investment funds. Do not put money from your wife's accounts. Don't take money from your girlfriend's pocketbook and put it. Just don't. If you are afraid of losing money in this market, do not put any money into it. There is a chance right now, based on how things are going, that Bitcoin could potentially hit $2,000. There's always a chance, even if it's 0.01%, that Bitcoin could go to zero by July. If you are not okay with that, it might be time to step away. That's all I have to say on the matter. I think I'm seeing people who are trying to raise the optimism in the market. It's no longer about optimism. It's that the world economy is falling apart. The US Fed just lowered their interest rates to 0%. That means that is as desperate as you can get to try and get people to bring back money into the economy. That is actual desperation. This is their 5th rate cut, I think, in 4 weeks. It's no longer just about crypto. The entire world's economy is suffering. Don't assume that crypto will go unscathed, or at some point Bitcoin will float up to $38,000. Be prepared for the fact that if everything else goes down, if market prices are affected, if other things just aren't working out in the world, that the cryptocurrency market could also falter as well. I feel like I needed to say that, and I think I'll say it for a couple of days because I want everyone to really get what's going on and what could potentially happen. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. They are... Sorry, I was going to make a joke, then I was like, no, never mind. Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Joshua Vineyard, Martin Steuer, Josh Gorsica, Chongololo, Songololo, Mr. Pickles, Nostromo, John Sarson, The Animal Reader, A Bibliophobia, Barebones Mining, Todd Mullis, Adam Graysick, Mohair Maroney, Master Ventures in Thailand, Brady Niels, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, 242 to the World, Crypto Joe, Bankroll Network, Adobo, Mil Wheezy, Crypto Artist, Cole D3D, Nicholas from Earth, One Peace, One Love, Richie Rich III, Nick Kanaya, Setsuna, Damien, Anthony Charles, Nick Manj, Yalavori, Paxis, Crypto Beer Shipmate, Vlad the Impaler, Minting Coins, Jeremy Fox, Jim Gardner, Miller Hitch Chest Every Day, and Kyle Skips Leg Day, Yes to Crypto, Bodie Big Boat Face, Anytime Fitness, Monk's Corner Staff, Arfmedic 17, Bake Me a Cake, Tigara Macho Nisa, On Crypto with Lionel, Crayola Michelle, URL, and hold on, I have to sneeze. Thank you all very, very much for your support. Thank you to everyone who is a member of the channel by clicking the little join button below. And also, side note, thank you to everyone who's been watching videos on my second channel. People keep asking. The link is in the description below. I find that I need to do something. So the other channel is a video game channel, and I have to do something silly in times like this. It is, I feel necessary. At the moment, there's a child. Can you hear that? There's a child screaming outside. It sounds like someone is like boiling water on the kettle. I've never heard a scream like that in my entire life. The market's down. I believe this is in anticipation for what could potentially happen later on. Bitcoin is currently at $4,585 and is down by 16%. This little up right here is the up yesterday when the price, like Bitcoin's price, went straight up to 10%. After the Fed announced the rate cuts, and then about a good 2 hours later, not even an hour later, after the Dow futures went down, this is when this happened. And I guess this is from the last 3 or 4 hours. I'm not exactly, can't give you an exact time frame. If prices are down now, before the stock market has opened, one can only assume that if the stock market opens and does also fall, that the wider cryptocurrency market could also fall as well. I'm seeing a lot of calls for a $15 Litecoin. I'm seeing XRP is currently at 13 cents. I may get my wish, yay, of a anywhere from a 2 to 5 to 6 to 7 cent XRP. Ethereum is close to $100. Yeah. Whereas Tezos is also one of the most down coins. It is what it is. This is just the market. It's not just our market. We know that once again, we are in a speculative market. Everything is down except for stablecoins. I mean, if you bought some stablecoins, you're making bank right now. A whole 0.66%. It's more than the interest rate of the United States right now. Anyway, I will have my finger on the trigger because I am myself anticipating a drop. Who knows what's going to happen? But I feel like during this week, we will probably see a sub $4,000 Bitcoin. I won't lie to you. I'm probably going to buy some in the next hour or so just to try and catch it even at this price. If it does go below 4,000, I'll just buy more. I won't even lie. I'm waiting for XRP to go below 10 cents. I was telling my friend, like, that's going to be the really difficult part. Like, waiting for it to hit 10 cents and, like, waiting for it to fall further. Because, like, we've all had those moments before, like, oh, I'll wait a little bit more. And if it goes from 10 cents back to, like, 13 cents, I'm going to be a little peeved. Anyway, I do hope, despite everything that's going on, that you're all having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I hope it's fantastic. I hope it's fun. I hope you find something to laugh at. I've been watching some of the most ridiculous movies on Netflix I could possibly find. Like, I was scrolling through it yesterday and I added anything that looked ridiculous. Remember the old Leprechaun movie from, like, 92 or something like that? They remade it. It's on Netflix. It's as weird as you expect it to be, but it got a good laugh out of me. Yeah, I think that's all I pretty much had to say. I'm gonna go play some video games and work on the second channel, and then just try and relax. You should all do the same. Thank you all once again for watching and listening, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See